welcome to anyone. Welcome to anyone who's listening. My name's Donovan from Mediaholic Marketing, and this is the Mediaholic Marketing podcast, where we look at different people who have inputs and advice and learnings that can help you either run your business better or improve your career. Today, I'm joined with someone I consider a friend, Shane Driver, who's the author of Please Stand By, using stories to recalibrate your life. Welcome, Shane. Cool. So, you've written a book. It can be quite a hard thing to do. Can you tell me a little bit about the effort it takes to write a book?
Writing a book was something I always felt I had to do. It's been itching inside of me for like the last 5 years. And when I reached out to a development editor, Rob, he actually got the book out of me. But the thing is, it wasn't just, like you see on the movies where they go and book a cabin and they go away for a week and then they write and come back with a book. It was quite a lot. I mean, he made me go through a whole list of things I want to discuss in the book. Then I had to give my stories and I had to write. And I think after about 100,000 words, then he said, okay, let's start a book.
After 100,000
After 100,000 words. And it wasn't using those 100,000 words that I'd already written. We had to write new words and new topics. And then we came up with the concept of the book, which was using movies as metaphors. And then it was exploring the movies and researching the movies and see which ones we're going to use, which ones we're going to drop. And in saying that, the writing of the book went from waking up in the morning at 4, start writing at 4 in the morning till about 7, go do my full-time business coaching career, get home, meeting with the editor in the evening online, working on some new ideas, write again. And on average, I was writing anything from a very slow day where I was struggling to 500 words to anything to 2,500, 3,000 words a day. That would include weekends, public holidays, long weekends. I wrote through December. I wrote through Easter. I don't think I left my house on Easter to push out a book because I had a deadline. And I gave myself the deadline. And I think we wrote from probably December to August.
Oh, wow. Non-stop
writing on this book. And if I tell you what we wrote compared to what you got, I think there would have been a series of Please Stand By instead of just one book.
That's
so
cool.
A lot has been culled and streamlined and cleaned up. I think 2 chapters were about 21,000 words each. Or 3 chapters, with 21,000 words each, which we had to cull down to 7,000 words.
Sure. It's interesting. So you touched on something that you've told me before, but I didn't actually think, and I suppose we can unpack it a bit. So you didn't start out going, I'm going to write a book that unpacks movies and tells stories. I mean, you went through this process and then came up with it. That's quite interesting.
That's what they say. Never. Well, my editor and a lot of people said to me, don't give the book a title. Write the book and then the title will come.
Okay.
So initially, this wasn't actually meant to be a book about movies. It was supposed to be a men's book called 7 Opponents to Man, and it never materialized. It turned into this, which is, this is not a men's book. However, it is written by a man with his experiences.
Yeah.
But the book, when Rob said to me, Shane, you quite good with pop culture, you love your pop culture, you're like, why don't we incorporate pop culture? And I realized, that's how I learned, was through movies. And so we used movies because I used to get frustrated. I read a lot of self-help books and a lot of books because it's part of my coaching.
Yeah.
And I used to get frustrated when a chapter refers another book. And I need to go read another book to understand what this book is trying to say. And I thought, well, how can we shortcut this whole process? A lot of people are very busy. Why don't we just go watch a movie, ask the questions, unpack one chapter, and come back when you're ready for the second chapter while you're exploring the first chapter.
Yeah.
And then it steamrolled from there. And then we just wrote and back and forward and wrote. And it took a lot of writing. Editing was about 5 months.
Sure.
There was a lot of things. There's so many drafts of this book until the one you got. And the people still say it's too thick, which also surprises me. Yeah.
But it's fascinating to hear what goes into it, isn't it? Because we all think like you've mentioned, like we watch movies. I suppose you watch Love Actually, the guy's writing, and then he finds a mistress, and whatever it happens. But you have this romantic idea of what it takes to do something, but when it actually comes down to doing it, there's probably a lot of like you mentioned, you throw away a lot. So I remember hearing about like when the Beatles would go into studio, or all the major bands would go into a studio, and they'd spend like 8 months in a studio, paid for by the record label, and they would write 50 to 60 songs. Like if you read Keith Richards' autobiography, he talks about that. They were locked in a hotel room and said, "You're not coming out until we've got a song." And I think Jumping Jack Flash came out of that, like because he was locked in the hotel room and didn't have his drugs, so he just made a plan. But they write 50 or 60 songs and then they just cull, and they chuck away so much and just pick the best. Did that kind of thing happen with you?
It did. I mean, there probably is a B-side to this book. I mean, there is a lot of stories that are told and connected with and expanded on that didn't even make it into the book. So I might revisit them and turn them into little blogs just to get those stories out. But yeah, there were many times where I spent like a month writing something, and it didn't materialize into anything.
Oh, wow.
I've got so many folders in my laptop of stuff that it's just hasn't gone anywhere.
You must be immune to the sunk cost fallacy then, eh? It mustn't affect you.
No, well, the thing is, I sent Rob sent me this podcast by I think it was Brendan. He wrote the last book of the Hand of Times, and he's got his own fantasy series. And he said the worst thing with amateur writers is they're not prepared to rewrite or chuck out content.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me a bit. Like how attached am I to this content? Or a lot of it was just garbage. Like I'll write and I'll just mind dump whatever's on my head, and then afterwards I'll turn it into something. And Rob taught me that. So it's a lot of, like, I'm sure on as a musician yourself, you probably got a lot of samples all over the place that doesn't really turn into anything.
Tons. Like I'll go through my iTunes and it's like, you'll have an artist, even like my favorite bands, I'll have maybe like 5 albums of theirs, which is like 60 songs. And then the rubbish I've recorded. And I mean, there's like 20-second clips, a minute and a half clip of just me noodling on something that I thought, and it just sits there, and you go, and sometimes it'll pop up in my playlist, and I go, what the hell was that,
It's how we say, it's creative hoarding.
Yeah. I was trying to explain it to my kid now. So my 14-year-old, he's editing a little video, and because I've had to change computer, we lost a bit of footage, and he's like, I've lost it, my whole project's doomed. And I go, no, none of that is a loss, because he does animation. Like, you've practiced your animation skills. You've practiced telling a story. You've probably made mistakes in that little, whatever segment of it, that now when you go and redo it, you're better at it because and I suppose the same with writing. Like, once you've written a chapter, you...
Definitely. I mean, if we look at the first stuff that I wrote, if I read it now, I have gone through some stuff. There was one piece on Mary Poppins that I really wanted to use. And I read through it and I thought to myself, it's not the same voice. It's not the same writing style I have right now.
Yeah.
And I wrote that probably a year and a half ago. And if I look at it now, I'll probably have to rewrite the whole thing. I understand the frame and the concept of it. I also noticed where I was my jokes have changed slightly.
Okay.
The F-bomb is dropping less and less.
Okay.
So
I did pick that up as you go through. Like.
And so, and the beginning you start, like, now, it's quite strange. I'll be on a flight somewhere and then I'll quickly write a blog. And then when I land, I've got a blog and I just edit it and clean it up when I've got Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So your writing style does change. I'm actually looking forward to the second and third book, which is now on my radar.
That's very cool.
2 different concept books. But yeah, like you said, it's that the first is always the worst. And I tell it to my clients all the time. Your first kiss is always your worst kiss. But I haven't met somebody yet who stopped kissing after the first kiss.
I read such a great comment yesterday that the Wright brothers built the world's worst aeroplane, and everyone thanks them for it. Because the first one is always going to be the worst.
It was. I mean, it's a bicycle with paper mache. That's really what it was.
So I want to just, like, on the surface, I mean, you've lived a relatively normal life. I mean, so with school, okay, you went to the military, which a lot of us didn't do. You studied a bit, you traveled, you got married, you got divorced. At what point, and I know you love coaching, at what point in there, because a lot of us will just carry on along that path. Yeah. What made you go, I'm tired of this and I want to help other people change this?
Oh, it started after my second divorce. The second divorce hit me quite hard. Not so much of the pining of the past, but more of the feeling of being a failure. Like I failed as a man, I failed in my path, I'm in my mid-30s. What have I really got to show for it? And I started picking up that my whole life was a series of distractions, filling your life with things of entertainment, things to do. And then it got to a point where once I've watched everything on Netflix, once I've watched everything on Showmax, once I've done all the things and I'm surfing and riding bikes and I got the dream bike and all that, there was only really two places for me to go, and that was the pub or the couch. And then I thought, well, this can't be right. Something's off here. And I thought, well, if I'm going through this, how many other people are going through this? Where that big friendship group from school, everyone's drifted off. You isolated yourself and trying to create a career.
Yeah. And
then you wake up and hold on, and you just say, well, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And then I started exploring the human condition, exploring coaching, exploring how to help other people. And they say, the best way to learn something is to show somebody else. And I remember I was exploring coaching as receiving side, not the actual giving side. And I think I was with this coach for about 3 years, and then afterwards I said, I think I want to be a coach. And then the coach said to me, well, that only took you 3 years to discover. Well done, welcome. And ever since then, I've been exploring it. And the thing is, I don't like seeing myself as a coach who happens to be an author. I see myself as an author speaker who happens to coach.
Okay.
I do feel sometimes coaching can get a bit of a bad rep. People feel like they're being put in a position of being scrutinized.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a great place to reset. Loneliness consumes more of us now than it ever did before.
Yeah.
When people were in survival back in the day, they didn't have time to feel lonely. They had to find food and they had to find shelter. But now that we have all those things, now our mind has space to wander.
Yeah.
And loneliness is usually a good one.
So I want to come back to the book a little bit. So for someone who's picking up the book, what kind of journey are they stepping into when they flow through it?
The thing about the book is you're not reading this book because I'm telling you to read the book. You're reading this book to go on a self-awareness journey. The book doesn't promise any solutions. It promises questions and exploration. So the nice thing about why we chose movies, or why movies became the main feature, is that you can go sit on your couch, watch the movie with a partner, a couple, as a group, and then you can have a discussion of the questions that I give you at the end. And you can discuss your path, you can question your journey, and you can see, okay, well, where do I go from here? What's the next step? And then you go seek it. Chapter 1 sat with me for probably about a month of actually exploring what I'd written down. The simple question of are you stuck not because you're in a time loop, but are you stuck because you're an arsehole? And the question was stuck in my head, like, am I an arsehole here? Am I selfish or am I selfless? Where am I selfish? Where am I selfless? Is my life in this loop because it's always about me? And that helped me explore those questions. And the book, each chapter is a standalone chapter. So it's a movie with questions, but the whole book is a journey through your life. So you might not be ready for chapter 2, you might not be ready for chapter 3. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And people look at the book and go, oh, but Shane, the book's thick. I said, but it's a book to be explored. It's not a book to be read in one sitting.
It's a weird thing to say to someone, the book's thick.
I got told the writing's too small, the book is thick. But you could read one chapter, you could give it to your partner, they could read the chapter, and then you go get the movie. And you watch the movie.
So I was going to ask that because you pick the movies and sometimes I'll find myself, if it's a movie I've recently watched, then I go, okay, I can relate. But I think, should I stop and watch the movie before I read the chapter, or should I watch it after? Is there a recommendation?
I would say, if you watch the movie, at the point you're watching it then for entertainment, you're not really watching it for a learning.
Okay.
So maybe, read the chapter first, let the seed get planted, then watch the movie. And then I say, put yourself in the character. Watch it a few times if you want, because it's sometimes, like if we look at the first chapter of Groundhog Day, Put yourself in the position of the main character. Put yourself in the position of the receiving characters. Put yourself in the position of the people living in the town. And you just change that. You how do we say? It's almost like you can astroplane within a movie. You can change your experiences, and then ask yourself, like, what would I do? Would I also go rob banks? Would I also buy everything I could? And then once I've done it, I mean, we also did a bit of research on the movie. There's a book exploring the movie. There's a lot of videos on YouTube exploring the movie, and some people say that he was stuck in that loop for up to 50 years.
Jeez.
Think about that. Isn't that life? A lot of us are stuck in a loop for 50 years.
Yeah.
And then we decide, oh, hold on, am I really living my life, or am I really helping my community? And if I died now, would anyone notice? And those kind of questions are really, really great.
Yeah.
So to answer your question short, read the chapter, go watch the movie, do it with somebody so that you can discuss it.
You're pitching it almost like it's a study guide.
Yeah, it's just don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. If each chapter really makes you leave with just one thing, and that's really it.
Okay.
Like the statement I said, nah, am I stuck because I'm an asshole?
Yeah.
And if that question drives you for the next month, then explore just that question.
Yeah. So, but it comes back to something very interesting you mentioned earlier about reading a lot of books. So you watch those CEO influencer types. I've seen the ads, and it's actually, when you do the maths, it sounds so stupid. Oh, the average CEO reads 300 books a year. Oh, so he's reading almost one a day. That's crazy. What about his work, And that seems to be like the mantra of people who want to be successful. But you've now chosen movies. And you hinted at it before, but is there a reason for that? I mean, is there a reason why you've chosen movies as opposed to
books? Sometimes I feel that we make people feel bad because they don't consume enough books when we have so many different mediums of learning and teaching.
Yeah.
I, however, do listen to a lot of books because I find it that I need to do two things at the same time. So when I read, I've got to do something else so that my mind wanders. But when it came to movies, I actually realized growing up, movies were basically my mentor. I would learn a lot from movies, and then it would stick with me, and I'd remember it and guidance. And without going too deep into my childhood, I remember a lot of times because I remember spending a lot of time alone, and I would watch movies, and a lot of pop culture movies stuck with me, and I think that's really how I moved forward and how I learned. And so I thought, well, with the fast pace now, how are people learning?
Yeah.
I mean, even now, the most recent movie that I learned from was Superman, believe it or not. And I wrote a blog about that straight after I went to watch the movie.
Yeah.
And it was a simple concept. Superman was being ridiculed for trying to be good, but he never strayed from his values.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that was a great lesson. And I learned it in 2 hours. And I was entertained at the same time. So some people get that from books and they don't get that from movies.
Yeah.
I know Rob says he never really saw it in movies and in series. And now all of a sudden he's watching movies and getting learnings from it. Yeah. So, I thought, why not? Why not change the narrative?
It's such a funny thing, though, because when you look at a movie, like, and I find this is, I suppose, what I use sometimes when you watch a movie, and like you pick Karate Kid, for example, like he was beaten, he was down, and then he gets up all bloody, half being able to stand, and still somehow wins. And while you're watching that movie, you know he's going to win, and if he doesn't win, then you're going to have hated the movie. That's why I hated that flippin' last James Bond. Because James Bond didn't win at the end. And I was like, well, this is the worst James Bond I've ever watched, because you expect there to be a win. And I find myself going, okay, I'm down, but I'm going to get up, and I'm going to be bloody and whatever it is, no matter how bad it is. And I enjoy that side of it. And that's almost every movie does something similar. But I've never looked at, like what you've looked at and some of the stuff you've touched on the books. Like you touch on some, like you go from Christopher Robin to science, which, I mean, they're two massively different genres. And I find it so fascinating that you've been able to find a lesson in one to the other. And is there something, like, if we're watching a movie, any movie, like you mentioned about the characters, is there like a step-by-step thing we can go, okay,
you know what?
How do we do it?
I say don't overthink it. First of all, have fun with it. Because if we use the Karate Kid movie, there was also another theory that the Karate Kid was actually the villain in the movie.
Okay.
That he came to this town, that he interfered with, I don't know who was the blonde guy, what his character was.
I remember they made a whole TV series about it.
He interfered with his life, took his girlfriend, did an illegal move in the match, lost his trophy. His life fell apart because this guy came out of nowhere and ruined his life. And I mean, I saw that was on Cobra Kai. I saw it on. And then there's a whole bunch of theories about it that the Karate Kid was.
I think it didn't start in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah,
How I Met Your Mother.
Yes, it was also in How I Met Your Mother. Where Barney said no, the real Karate Kid was the blonde character. But at the end of the day, that's the saying. It's all about perception. And when you watch a movie, what I might see in the movie, you might not see. So I say, instead of trying to do a step-by-step guide, look at the movie and ask yourself, what is this movie trying to teach me? And believe it or not, I saw a lesson in a movie from, what's her name? She was Fat Amy, and that, what's her name now? A big blonde woman that was in.
Oh, yes, the Australian girl.
And she had that movie where she woke up at 37. She got knocked in the head in high school, and she woke up at 37, and she's trying to go back to school. I think it's senior year. I think it's called. You're gonna have to edit a lot out here. I think it's the senior year. And in that movie, it was that she was still chasing likes at 37 years old to be popular.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I thought, well, how many people are actually chasing likes and really chasing validation to be popular, to be accepted? Still at 37 years old. So, and that was a silly movie, and I managed to get that learning out. But the thing is, that was for me. So whatever you watch, if it's documentaries, if it's cartoons, I mean, there's a lot of anime stuff, there's a lot of manga stuff that have a lot of good lessons. Whatever you watch, there will be some sort of learning that you'll pick up. You just have to look at it. And the thing is, it comes out at the time that you're ready to accept it.
Yeah. I suppose you'll have to be open to it. I found an interesting one, and we were discussing a Bible story. I don't know if you remember the story about Samson and his hair. And the kids were like, oh, it's about the story about faith. And I was like, but it's also a story about betrayal, because his wife betrayed him, And it's a story about believing in where you're... and there's so much that we can look at. And it's...
Yeah, and then there's a great question from that as well. I mean, who are you without your strength?
Yeah.
And that leads to other questions. Who am I if I'm not a father? Who am I if I'm not a business owner? Who am I without, fill in the blank. So, and that's a great thing with Samson. Who was he without his strength? And his hair determined his strength. So there's lessons in everything. I mean, let's be honest. That was the book that used parables and stories to teach. I mean, Jesus did it all the time. A lot of other scriptures use it all the time. That's how we used to learn around the fireplace.
Aren't movies the same thing?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just a modern day fireplace get together.
Yeah, a 2-hour parable.
Yeah,
parable of
and people put in the fluff and some action and tough parts to make it. But we learn from stories, books as well, even novels. It doesn't always have to be a self-help book. It doesn't always have to be. Now get up in the morning and journal for 20 minutes and then meditate for 20 minutes. It doesn't always have to be that.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the business behind the book. So obviously it's like a product. If I'm developing a new product, it's the same kind of concept. We have to sell it. So, and I had a movie quote in my question that I wrote, and I was very proud of my movie quote, which you might like. So it's not like if you build it, they will come from the Field of Dreams. I love that stupid movie. But are there any unique challenges that you faced that people might be in that you might be able to teach other industries about? Is there something that...
I like that line that you use as well before I answer the question. It's, if you build them, they will come. But I like to say Wayne's World, because he also used it in Wayne's World too. Where they built the concept and then eventually everyone came. So you can have fun with that line as well. When it came to the book, my whole focus was to write the book. And just like with a lot of other things, like you create the product, whatever amazing product you have in your garage, and now you want to give it to the world. But your whole focus is this product. And now the product is made, the question then is, now what? And I matched the book up to like artists, like musicians. How do they sell their CDs? How do they sell their music? Once they've written the song, how do they get it out there? And they sell it from the boot of their car. I just read that book now from Bling 182. I think it's called Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Can't remember now who the guy's name is, but anyway, in their book, the way they started was selling CDs from the boot of their car, or sleeping in a dodgy van,
Yeah.
and playing in the basement of an empty club. And they did that over and over and over again. And it just taught me that the only way to get this book out there is consistency and getting people to know about it. So my advice is, if you're not telling people, they're not going to know. And a little bit like it's like you're sitting on your couch waiting for the love of your life to knock on the door.
Yeah.
So the book, right now, I'm in the process of getting it out there. It is on Amazon already internationally. It's on my website. And now the next thing is social media, websites, and doing talks and getting distributors, and it's consistency of just continuously promoting yourself.
It's funny that, like, I mean, in marketing, we've got the 4 Ps. So the product, price, place, and promotion. It always starts with the product, because if you don't have a product, you've got nothing to sell. And we had discussions around the price, and you said people think it's a thick book. I think the way you've priced it is spot on. I think it's good value for money. Place, you've spoken about where to buy at your website and things like that. And then promotion is now playing those gigs. The place for Blink-182 was the booth. So that there's, whether we like it or not, we consider those 4 somehow automatically. But I've always found when we consider them deliberately, that's when things change. So, and the slog is something that is with any new product, whether any business, you always start somewhere. And you sold a bunch to friends and colleagues in your network already. And that's where everyone also starts, isn't it? So there's a lot of similarities, aren't there?
It is. I mean, the nice thing about it is that people know you already. So it shows you how valuable credibility is.
Yeah.
And I speak to a lot of business owners, when I was with business coaching and things like that. And a lot of them think, well, I've started a business, I put out an ad, they need to come and find me.
Yeah.
The thing is, we're all salespeople, every single one of us. Every business, you need to be a salesperson. You need to promote what you have. I mean, even in the old days, if you open up a stand with your snake oil, the guy had to stand there and give a presentation about snake oil. You had to stand in amongst the people. You had to collar with a loud mic and everything like that to get people to come use product. And it is once you understand the value of credibility, that is when things start taking off and things start working, because people, they don't really like change. They like exciting change, but I mean, the only reason why people buy Koo beans is because your mom bought Koo beans. So, for instance, and Omo or whatever. And every time something new comes in, it's like we tend to mistrust it.
Yeah. I mean, look, you do get the early adopters in anything. Like, they talk about the early adopters in technology stuff, but it is with everything, to be fair. Interestingly, I was looking at Barack Obama, apparently, when he started running for president, had already published 2 books 7 years before, and they did nothing. Like, nobody bought it, all like very little sales. But when suddenly people started seeing who he was, and like you mentioned, the credibility, or that visibility, and then 2 books of his suddenly became bestsellers on the New York Times list 7 years later, which I find quite interesting. That until you start building that credibility, getting the visibility, getting people to know, like, and trust you,
then that's
everything else is going to fall apart, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, people. Why would you buy anyone's CD? Why would you buy anyone's book? Why would you buy anyone's clothing range?
Yeah.
You generally do it because the influence around you is pushing you towards it, because it's a little bit of FOMO, like, what am I missing out on? I really need to know more. Let me find out what's more. It's my curiosity. And the thing is, are you striking up curiosity? Am I striking up curiosity? If you're not curious, then the credibility, I guess, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But it's true what you're saying. I mean, I've read up on authors where I really, really enjoyed their books. And then it's like a second or third or fourth print. And then they write in there and says, it took 7 years to write the book. It took another 7 years to promote it. I got many cancellations. And then I'm thinking, well, when am I reading this book? And I looked at it, and it was 20 years after that print.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, it's a long time for that to get to my doorstep.
And the processes some people go through, I think it's that the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance book, which is a very hard slog to get through that first, like, third of it. That's a very difficult read, and probably a lot of people put it down because of it. But he was institutionalized for his theories. They thought he was mad. And then when he came out, he went on the motorcycle trip with his son, and that's where he started writing the book. And then afterwards, he was praised as a visionary in terms of like thought processes for quality, which is like, thank God you didn't have to go through that.
I was about to say, I'm glad I missed that part of it.
It's just the journey that you had to do. But yeah, I found it so strange that like everyone's like the journey's different. I will comment. There's one thing I find very interesting about the book is your voice is quite consistent, and hearing your voice and you read it in your voice is quite interesting. I've got about 60% of the way through. I'm at a chapter now where I've gone, I haven't seen these movies, so I was like, I actually need to watch the movie. So I'm going to now slow down in my reading, watch the movie, or read the chapter, then watch the movie, and then look at it from there. So I've got like another 4 movies that I'm going to have to discover, which leads me to a nice, interesting question. If you being a movie buff, and in terms of lessons, if we were to say, okay, if I were to recommend movies to my team, because we do recommend books to people around us, if I were to go, okay, if there's 4 movies we're going to watch this year, recent or not, what would they be?
4 movies to watch this year. It depends, though. It depends, because I mean, if we're looking at what do you want them to learn,
so let's talk about personal growth, I suppose.
Personal growth. I would love to say superhero movies are always a great reference for finding your truth, finding your power.
Yeah.
I know everyone looks at like Marvel and DC movies and they think, oh, it's a cartoon, it's a comic thing. But if we look at Star Wars, if we look at Indiana Jones, if we look at all those guys, they all had the great villain, the great adversary.
Yeah.
Let's say the great opponent. Even Rocky. Even if you look at Rocky movies, Rocky movie was a superhero in his own. He was an 80s superhero, if you want to call him that. There was always a big opponent that needed to be beaten to learn from, and then you look at the sequel, and then that big opponent in the sequel is suddenly no longer even an opponent, but actually just the side character.
Yeah.
So any movie where there's a great opponent that they can learn from, and you can actually see the struggle and growth and the lessons. So I guess kung fu movies are pretty good with that. Or Star Wars would say my young Padawan or whatever. Padawan. If I'm looking at a great movie now, it's just one movie that I really thought was a great movie, but it's more of a documentary. Was I think it was called What the Bleep, where we think, what the bleep do we know?
Yeah,
that was a great movie. It talks about different kind of subconscious thinking and all that kind of stuff. But if you're looking for an easy movie, there's so many, so many.
I'll tell you the one I enjoyed that you touched on in the book was the Yes Man. That opened eyes for me. And it does, because it's why you're doing it. Any movie where the person is chasing some sort of career to fill some kind of void, it's a great movie to learn. Because the thing is, we forget our why a lot. Like with Simon Sinek and his, remember the why. We forget our why to do it. We drive our careers and our purpose forward. Yeah. Because
of other people's expectations and what kind of reward you're going to get from them. And then we quickly forget about why we're doing it.
Yeah.
So any movie that can touch on the why factor. But I'll definitely have to get back to this one, because I'm thinking now on this movie.
Yeah. And I think about like movies that I remember having a particular theme. Like I think, which one was it? There was a Will Smith movie where he was alone trying to find a virus where he had to kill his dog.
Yes, that was.
I forgot the name, but
geez,
I remember that
movie,
that was quite hectic,
It was.
But it touched on a lot of loneliness and hope, and you like you've mentioned, putting yourself in the position of that character, and the relief he must have felt when you heard that, was it a radio message that there was someone else out there.
But then, did you also, now that you talk about that, but when he did actually meet those people, how awkward was it?
Yeah.
How uncomfortable, how crazy did he seem? And when we isolate, and including myself, when I isolated after my divorce, I started shaking when I spoke to people. I was uncomfortable. I'd say stupid things. I'd talk over people. I'd, try do I add value? Maybe hopefully they like me, and you're all weird. Then there's like distrust, and it's like this whole thing. And you see it in Will Smith. You actually see him being weird and getting upset that the woman ate his last bacon that he was saving, and forgetting how to share and be co-inhabitant with people. And that part of it, like immediately as you said it, that's my learning. And being surrounded by a world of zombies, I mean, sometimes it does feel like we're living in a Walking Dead society. Like everyone is just zombies chasing after consuming. It's like this massive consumerism. We need all of this stuff. And
it's actually funny you mention that, because there's another side to the world, is that we all are our own main characters. We're all in the center of our own universe. Like that, sometimes we do feel like everyone's against us. That we the little hero that's going to beat everyone. And we sit there waiting for that magic solution that's going to change everyone else. But that's not actually what happens, isn't it? If we kind of have to go out there and meet the zombies.
We have to.
In real life.
I don't know. Think about, like, I read this one statement somewhere. It says, "Would you watch your movie? Like, if you're the main character of the movie, would you watch it? Or would you be bored by it?" And that's so. Like personally, I look at this my life as a kind of story, but there's a lot of years in that story. Like if you watch the latest Flash series, there's a lot of episodes that could have not had. And it feels like a lot of years are filler years. They're just years that have been placed there to have an extended life. So would you be bored by your own movie? That's that question that drives me a lot.
It's something I suppose I wanted to touch on. Like, I mean, I read the book, and like I mentioned earlier, like your life seemed fairly like normal, but there's times when I read the book, and some of the stories that come out are quite hardcore. I mean, that's like you sit there and you're going, geez, you start to, number one, you identify with little Shane, and you go, oh, okay, that was also me. But then sometimes I didn't identify, but I felt for, and I go, flip, that's quite a hectic situation. And I see that in other people, I suppose, kids or whatever. And it's quite an eye-opener into someone's life. But it also tells me, I mean, we come from the same area, and we were actually, like in our school, I never saw that. I just saw, oh, there's Shane. I never saw like the divorced parents, or, this father's suicide and all this other stuff that we just never know. And you think, oh, that guy's, a bit of a prick, or he's not a bit of a prick, or it's so fascinating to hear that. And then it makes me also just think, what are people going through? You have to consider that in everything.
It is that, and we all go through our things. And I'm not the same. There's a lot of times I go into a shop and I forget to say hello, and I'm just like, can you just make this happen? And let's speed things along here. And I forget that other people are also going through their own stuff. And the reason I wasn't just sharing the stuff so that people can just read about my life. I was sharing the stuff to show that there are these times, there are times where we bully. There are times we disconnect from partners. There are times that our parents, how do we say, tried their best, but we didn't understand it at the time. What I talk about in the book as well, that sometimes I realized I was running on an operating system. Like lessons that I'd learned in my teens that I'm carrying into my adulthood for 20 years, which were very irrelevant to my process. And I'm sure a lot of other people go through that same thing. And a lot of people use the example of, if you touch the oven, I tell you not to, and then you burn your hand, now you'll never touch an oven again. But, you didn't realize what was the purpose of touching the oven in the first place. Now we just cut it off. We just stopped doing things because it hurt the first time. So the stories were there just so people can connect on various levels. Like you said, Yes Man reached out to you. Some movies won't. Some movies won't be relevant to you. Some people have, met the love of their life and been married for 30 years. One chapter on relationships won't mean anything to them. Some people don't have kids. The chapter about kids won't mean anything. So when I reread my own book for editing purposes, the chapters that stood out in the beginning weren't relevant anymore. But then there were new chapters that were standing out and pushing me out into my next phase. So they'll hit you at different times when you're ready. So that's
I
the
think it's
beauty of
great.
it.
It's also one of those things I might revisit the chapter. So if I ever watch the movie again, I might come and revisit. And I think it's such a great and you know, to anyone listening, my recommendation for reading the book is we'll read a biography. It's like I read Keith Richards' biography, and I mean Keith Richards, this famous person. I read Dave Grohl's and all these other ones, and they're really awe inspiring because you think, oh, there's this person who's done like all these magnificent, huge things and they're world famous. But when you come and you read a story of a person who, for want of a better word, who's a little more ordinary, you know, who's a little more like me, and you sit there and you go, wow, this is like where we get to a point. It's like it's a different pathway, and of course we're at different places and we got there different ways. But I just think it's so fascinating to see, and the way you've communicated it, it's so well done on that. But I recommend reading it because like as you go through, you sit there and go, flip. Am I an arsehole? Am I saying no to certain things? And those little questions you put in every chapter. Like I really like those where you sit at the end and go, I think it was the bucket list.
Yeah.
You know, you had those questions like, flip, you know, what am I not doing? What am I waiting? What am I waiting to do before I die? You know, so
there's definitely, I mean, like you said, the bucket list. It is a very, it's a very funny concept. Things that I do before I die. What about the things you need to do to live? And that's a completely different question. So if you had to look at today, what are you doing to live today instead of waiting for this amazing free trip overseas to explore some kind of adventure?
Yeah.
It then it answers a very different question towards the bucket list.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys in that movie, they were already at the end of their life. So
absolutely.
Do you really want to wait till then?
Yeah.
So the questions are for the normal man. The questions in the book are for your everyday bloke. Not all of us want to be famous and not being able to sit in a restaurant and have dinner because somebody wants an autograph.
Yeah.
It is for the everyday person. Like, aren't we all just trying to fit in society? I mean, there's 7 billion people. We're going to find a little piece of it for us.
Yeah. And plus it's about movies, which you know, most people enjoy. Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask you some quick fire questions.
Okay.
Is there a movie quote you use a lot in coaching or overuse in coaching? Like I know for me in marketing, I'm always on the if you build it, they will come. You know, I love that, but that's my topic. Like, is there something?
I don't know if this one would be great for the podcast, but as you said that, it's the quote from The Rock.
Okay.
When not The Rock, as in the movie The Rock, and when I think Nicolas Cage was saying, "I'm doing my best," and then Sean Connery says, "Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen." And I love that. So when someone says to me I'm whining and that was how I'll do my best, and that triggers, and I go, you know, losers always whine about their best. And I think Tony Robbins softens it a little bit and says that try is the war cry of the loser. I think he's given a more PG version of it.
And Yoda simplified it into one sentence.
Yes.
I tell my kids that all the time, you know.
There's no tries, and you do. I love that.
Yeah.
I use that a lot as well, especially with my clients.
And I mean, that's the absolute truth in everything we do. You either do it or you don't.
You don't.
Trying is the verb, and it's...
And I do a little exercise with them, and I ask them, please try pick up the mouse, or please try pick up the pen. Show me how you try it.
Yeah.
And then they pick it up, and I say, no, that's not trying. That's actually picking it up. Yeah. And eventually you see when they're frozen, confused, and they don't know what I want them to do.
Yeah.
And that's what try looks like.
Yeah.
You're frozen, confused, and you don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's a cool exercise, that. If you had a theme song over your credits,
I was thinking, I don't know, anything from AC/DC, I guess, at the end.
Yeah, I suppose that's a triumphant kind of song, isn't it? That's
I do love what they did with Iron Man. I think it was Iron Man 2 where they used the whole AC/DC album.
Oh, the whole one. Oh, okay.
I bought the album. It was actually just AC/DC tracks the whole way through. It's almost like an AC/DC movie. I think AC/DC is quite a good. Get pumped up.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was in London, I had this one little track. Called, I think it was called Chicago. I think it was from Groove Armada, and it was just a track. There was no vocals in it.
Yeah.
And it used to be the song I listened to when I got into the tube, and it changed, almost like melodies. Like they added something, added something. So it almost felt like in my head the movie had different phases.
Yeah.
So the phase would be I'm walking down to the tube, I get on the tube, then I'm holding on the tube, and the music would change with each aspect of that journey. I think that song I listened so many times, and as soon as I hear that song, I replay my tube journey.
It's actually a loaded question, and as you're talking, I think I would probably, if I were to ask that question again, I would have said, what would have been the song playing at your triumphant win scene? Because I think that's probably a bit more real, because the end is the end. The people are walking out the cinema at that stage. But at that moment where the Karate Kid is getting up, or where Rocky's climbing up, like the song there, like that for me is something. I suppose we don't have to answer it now because we've got a thing to think of. But in my head, I'm going to answer that for myself, so that in those moments when I need to get up, that's the song I'm going to listen to.
That's such a great question. What song is your soundtrack at your current moment?
Yeah.
If we use that line, like I would think, like, every time when something happens in my life, then immediately Queen's the show must go on. And I play that, and I realize, okay, things need to keep going. Queen is great with a lot of those songs, but there are like many songs, and have you never noticed when you ride in the car and you go through a breakup or you lose a client or something, and suddenly there's a song playing on the song about loss, and you're like, oh my.
I remember I had a girl dump me. And do you remember there was a 363 song called A Million Lights?
Yeah.
Super slow, like this weird, like strings in the background. And I remember sitting in my room and it came on the radio. And it just hit me, like went right through. And I just sitting there crying. And it healed me, funny enough. And I love that song so much now. But it was so fascinating how at that moment, that was my song.
Movies and music videos are basically little mini movies. Yeah. Quick little lessons that we're learning that touch our emotional. And a lot of movies touch emotion. I mean, there's a lot of movies that still touch emotion to me, and I think that's where really good lessons come from.
Absolutely. Okay, next one. What is a film that makes you cry every time? Yeah.
Big Fish. Big Fish pulls the tears every time. Okay. And it always comes at the same part, and I forget that it comes at that part. So I'm thinking, why do I cry in this movie? What's going on? This is fun. I'm enjoying this. And then that moment comes, and it just hits me proper. And it's not like tears right down cheek. It's like proper ugly cry. So yes, I admit this now, love. But that movie hits me quite hard.
It's funny. Mine is The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
There's two scenes in particular. One where he's got the kid locked in the bathroom and he's trying to protect him, and then that last one when he comes out and he's got the job. Like it kills me. Like even now I'm just thinking like it's that hits me quite hard. Like I love those.
And that's a great movie. I mean, if you do research on the top 10 movies that influence people or self-help movies, that movie is generally mentioned.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. And isn't that it? You see the struggle of everything, and there's triumph at the end.
Yeah.
And that's what people try to avoid, the struggle for some reason. You need the struggle. You need the pain. Just like even with gym, the muscles need to be sore for to be working, and that's why the end result, the prize of what you've watched is that reward, is that triumph, and to see someone succeed. We do love the underdog, but for some reason, like when they're on top, we pull them down.
In any movie, though, the one thing we don't, like we see it, but I personally sometimes find it hard to connect to is the pain that person must be feeling at the time. Like we think about Rocky, I mean, he got beaten, Like the last time I kicked my toe, I wanted to die, and then I got beaten. And you think about the pain they must have been going through to then get up and do it, or the emotional pain, or whatever it is, we forget that connection. So because when we feel the pain, that's when we want to quit, as opposed to stand up again.
And the thing is that the pain is such a beautiful thing. I've been doing a test on myself lately. And I've been looking at the pain in everything that I'm doing. And I ask myself, is there enough pain in this? Because like with the gymming now, I mean, looking after your body.
Yeah.
Is there enough pain in it? Is there the pain of waking up early in the morning, the pain of eating healthy, the pain of actually going?
Yeah.
It's not just the pain of the muscles. And is it worth it at the end?
Yeah.
And then it's just because the journey is that's where how do we say people like saying the rubber hits the road, but where it actually means something is you've gone through something, you've put in the work, and then you get this prize at the end. And it's like if I had to give you 20,000 Rand for nothing now, you'll probably go pay off your bills or something like that. But if you had to work for 20,000 Rand for an operation for your kid, that reward would mean so much more than just getting something for free. So you need an element of pain with any goal that you have.
But I mean, coming back to a book analogy, I mean, while you're reading the book, you're in the story, and when you finish the book, you're not in the story anymore. So I mean, technically, the end of a book is the worst part. It's because you're out of it now. You have no more story, and it's finished.
That's why with my book, I actually wanted you to go explore. Like it wasn't the end of the story. It's basically an introduction for you to now go start your journey.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the beginning. It's not the end.
It's interesting because I was going to ask you why were there no Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Lord of the Rings in here, but I think I have an idea why. It's because those have all been talked about to death. The movies you've chosen are a little less common, and I like that. I like that it's a.
I tried to bring out movies that you could still find that you're a bit familiar with, but Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, those are all fantastic movies.
Yeah.
And when I tell people I'm using movies as metaphors, and they say, "Oh, is Fight Club in there, or is this in there?"
Yeah.
"Oh, you missed an opportunity." Like, no, I didn't really miss opportunity. The movie wasn't about. The book wasn't about actual movies. The book was about finding lessons in movies. And I want you to go and take other movies that you're fond of and that you enjoy. And I mean, you can reach out to me on social media and tell me which movies they are, and I can write a blog on it.
Yeah.
But I want you to go find the lessons and the movies that mean something to you. Like you found a great lesson in The Pursuit of Happiness. It doesn't have to be in the book for you to go find the lesson.
Yeah.
It's just a way of finding the lesson. So if Fight Club does it for you, or Pulp Fiction, or
I find it interesting. So, I mean, we look at movies where it's obvious. So I watch movies with my kids. Jeez, these monkeys are crazy. Like I watch movies with my kids and I'll pick on Cars, for example. Very, very clear, or the planes one as well. Very clear message. Like, obvious, it's persistence and following your goal, or one was friendship or whatever. And then you touched on the kids' movies in here, which I also found quite interesting. So, I mean, Paddington 2, like not even the main, but like the sequel, which was so fascinating for you to have found that lesson and to have mentioned that movie. Because you could have, like you said, gone for an obvious one. But that message is obvious. Like you've touched on something that's...
Paddington 2 was like a warm blanket. That movie was such a warm... Like, I don't understand it. Like, you feel like the world is going to be all right when you watch that movie. And... a lot of the series, like now I've been researching a little bit of Masters of the Universe and Thundercats and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of every Masters of the Universe, He-Man would come and give you a message about what that episode was about. And we don't really see that in modern day cartoons anymore. Maybe I've missed it. Maybe it's out of my generation. But back then, there was always a message at the end. And so kids' movies...
There was a point though in our era where cartoons... And I think I blame Cartoon Network a bit for this, where it just got silly. And you had like, what is it, Cow and Chicken? You remember, like, what? Like, it went from like, oh, you're going to teach you a lesson, there's a bit of fight, whatever. And at the end of it, there's something you get out of it. Even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had that. But then, the cartoons just got really silly. Where it went from being...
It turned into a platform of entertainment and no longer learning.
Yeah. That's like, and we could almost pinpoint that moment in history, like, which is quite interesting. Okay, what is your go-to movie when you need to pick yourself up?
Go-to movie to pick myself up? Ooh. There's so many.
I know you like the superhero movies.
I do. I mean, like I said, I just watched the Superman now, and I found that as great. I even messaged, I don't even know if James Gunn meant it, but I messaged on his followers, and I just said thank you, James Gunn, and it was really, really good. I do love 80s movies for some reason.
Okay.
There were so many good movies out there, like Back to the Future movies, Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles, anything like that. So, and I've been loving Amazon lately because they've been bringing back a lot of movies that I forgot about. So, if we're looking, I guess it's nostalgia. Anything that hits a link of nostalgia. I'll probably watch again. I'm actually looking forward to the Highlander remake as well. And Master of Universe, I'm also looking forward to that. And I found the original 1987 one on Amazon, and I was just like, oh, gotta watch that.
I can't believe it's taken them so long to come back with Highlander. That series was amazing.
It was. I mean, and that was... The thing is, there's just so many good stories out there. go-to movies. I've watched. You know, the strange thing is, like, when we look at The Godfather, I only watched The Godfather a few years ago for the first time,
How is it?
and I was blown away by how good it was. And that's what I'm saying. We think that if it's not modern, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
And there's so many movies, especially now with the Gen Z and millennials and all that kind of stuff. If they dug in the vault of the older movies, the 80s movies, the 90s movies, even before that, there's so many gems out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I sat and watched The Time Machine, and that was still really, really good. And it came out in the 1960s. So...
Yeah, we revisited Casablanca like recently, and it's what a story, you know.
It's so many great stories that are just diluting into the background. So modern is not always best. That's why I threw in some pretty old movies there. I mean, I think When Harry Met Sally, that's 1989.
Yeah.
So just to...
So is there an actor, I didn't give you this question before, but it's just occurred to me now, because we mentioned Will Smith a couple of times, and like I know a couple of Robin Williams movies have been like really, really thought-provoking. Not the silly ones like Mrs. Doubtfire, but even, I suppose, even that one. Is there a particular actor that you've seen has more movies that'll hit you than others?
I think Ewan McGregor. I mean, already in the book he's twice.
Oh yeah. Okay.
His movies generally, he's got a nice mixed bag of movies. I have to admit, I do love the British movies and British actors. They tend to come up with more story and less the message.
Okay.
There's some great stories in it. But if we look at a sole actor...
I mean, Tom Hanks is in there. Tom Hanks as well. A lot of his movies.
Tom Hanks has got a lot of good stuff. You know, there's so many good actors out there when the movies come out. You know what? I've got this guide. I've got this little, almost like a sense if I know a movie's going to fit with me.
Okay.
If a trailer gives me goosebumps,
okay,
then that's the movie I'm going to seek out.
Yeah.
If I don't get goosebumps, I'll wait for it to come on TV. So it's not really so much the actor, but the goosebumps. I mean, there's been a lot of great actors that released some shockers. I mean, The Rock was in Doom. Doom. And that was a bit of and any Resident Evil movie, every time I'm so hopeful and it's so bad because it's got like nothing to do with the video games. And like it's Assassin's Creed. I mean, you know, Fassbender is such a great actor, and that was such a cuck movie because it doesn't follow the games at all. It's like a completely new character that they added on, and so you can't really go on by the actor. So I go on the goosebump theory. That's what guides me.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Right, so where can people currently buy the book? You've mentioned your websites.
Yes, on my website, it's shanedriver.co.za or shanedriver.com. Both of them will take you to it, and that's if you're from South Africa, you can get it directly from me. I'm busy in negotiations with a distributor now to get it into bookstores. So once it's in the bookstores, once it's in bookstores, wait, it's with monkeys, yeah. Okay. Once it's in bookstores, then I'll let you know. But and it is available on Amazon if you're not in South Africa. I'm still trying to get the local link of Amazon, but right now it is available internationally. I know I've got people that's ordered from the UK, Germany, New Zealand, Australia. So and they have had their copies already sent to them. So
nice. And where can people follow you on social media and stuff?
On social media, Instagram, it's Coach Shane Driver, and then Facebook. Shane Driver, you can find me on that as well.
Nice, and obviously I'll put links to that in the
and
we call it down below.
I haven't actually got a book page as yet. It's not something I've really explored just yet, but we'll see.
And you're also medium.com, eh? You mentioned that.
Yes, medium.com as well. I write a lot of blogs on medium.com. So if you're a member on there, please support me on medium.com. If you're not a member, you can find those blogs on my website, and if you can't see them in the top 6, they will be in the archives. So
cool. Well, thanks, Shane, and thanks anyone else for watching. I do recommend following Shane. He's a very interesting guy. Loves coaching, loves people, loves telling stories, and then all your blogs. I mean, I read the Superman one yesterday, and it was also like I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was quite cool. A nice little tidbit taste of what comes out in the book. Thanks for joining me on the first podcast.
Thanks, Donovan. Thanks for having me.
Cool. And anyone else, if you want to follow, subscribe, the usual story. Any questions for Shane, reach out to Shane. Any questions for me, reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks so much.